The President of TCF, the immediate past President, members within the TCF Council, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for the opportunity to come and speak to you this evening. I don't want to make a very long speech, and my apologies for the delay. But essentially, as I said to Kaushik, what do you want to speak to me about? He said, well, say all nice things about us. Of course, the TCF Council is an integral part of what the government is focused on, and that is essentially to develop the various sectors within the economy, and the textile, clothing and footwear sector is obviously very, very important to us. It does employ, as you heard, about 7,000 people, but it does also bring in the very much needed foreign exchange, the reserves that we need to build up in Fiji. Our reserves at the moment is the highest it's ever been. I think a couple of weeks ago it was $10 million short of $2 billion, which has never been that high. Government is very much focused on introducing a form of consolidated approach to manufacturing in Fiji. We believe that manufacturing in Fiji, in particular what we call clean manufacturing, is the way forward for Fiji. We are very close to markets like Australia and New Zealand, but we have a number of other opportunities that we can obviously sell in terms of our compliance with the environment, in terms of compliance with labor standards, in terms of our ability to have a general international compliance with various conventions. These things do help, and many of you would know this. I mean, whether it's in the tourism industry, if you're marketing a tourism industry and you say that you're green focused, if you, for example, bring about renewable energy into your product, then obviously it makes you a lot more marketable. It also helps you to distinguish yourselves from other suppliers of products from other jurisdictions. And that is what I think is very critical. I mean, without specifically naming other countries, some of the larger producers or manufacturers of goods and services that you may be competing with, this will also help you differentiate yourself from them. And the word Fiji, in any case, does conjure up very positive images in people's minds, and that again is something that we need to capitalize on. And this is why we are saying that if Fiji was to be able to adhere to certain international standards, whether it's labor standards, whether it's environmental standards, then it makes your products a lot more marketable. As been highlighted by Kaushik, when we started off the funding of $100,000, as Kalpeshu had worked very hard behind the scenes for it, we saw an opportunity in the sense that Fiji has the ability now not necessarily to be able to produce large volumes, but also to be able to produce volumes on demand and smaller volumes, and obviously more in the niche market. And this obviously brings about a number of opportunities. There's still a number of opportunities, I think, that can be sourced from Australia. That is, I think, for the offering. And if we're able to focus on that, then there's a lot more opportunities for you all. The point that I wanted to highlight when I was sitting there talking about was thinking about it was the technical colleges we're setting up. We obviously see it as a means of providing livelihoods to people, and also to, assist businesses with a stockpile of potential employees who have some very basic training, rather than you having to train them right from the beginning. There is, for example, at the moment a shortage of people in the construction industry, semi-skilled or skilled people, because there's a bit of a construction boom going on. Similarly, when you are able to go and get more markets, then you obviously need to have a good crop of people who will be available for you to bring onto the mainstream or into your lines very, very quickly. And that's what we are here to do, is to provide you with that opportunity, and without you having to invest too much in the sort of rudimentary training area that really people should be trained in the first place. I think, ladies and gentlemen, what we also need to keep in mind, and there's a couple of things that we are thinking of at the moment with the budget coming ahead, is that I think as businesses, we all need to be mindful of the fact that Fiji now has set on a very different path in respect of our expenditure, that a lot of the expenditures now have become what we call recurring expenditures. The fact that we have free education now, right up to year 13, the fact that even we have things like free milk and Weet-Bix, free medicine for those people who earn below $20,000, and most of your employees would fall within that category. Free water for households earning less than a combined income of $30,000. Again, most of them would fall in that category. So we are in a way assisting you and putting less pressure in respect of the demands that may be placed on you by your employees by providing a very basic set of opportunities in terms of even access to amenities that they may not have, utilities. So we see government's role is not just a question of giving out freebies, as some politicians have sort of ridiculed it, but it is actually a plan to put less pressure on the manufacturers, less pressure on employees, and also at the same time to ensure that we remain competitive in terms of your pricing structures, in particular for those people who are in the export market. I hope you understand what I'm trying to say. And I think that is something that the manufacturers and the business houses need to appreciate a lot more. I do not necessarily get that feedback in the public space by the business houses. And this is one thing, as I've said previously, that when we want to build industries, when we want to create our country as a manufacturing hub, we need the business community also as partners to come out into the public space and comment on these types of issues. And I think that is very, very critical. As we've said in other forums, it is a collaborative approach, it is a partnership approach. As we have said, for example, recently we had discussions with another sector where we provided a number of incentives, but they have not actually come out and acknowledged that, and I think that needs to be done. Kaushik obviously has acknowledged it today, but I think there's a lot more that can be done. Indeed, even with the sort of export tax deductions that we provide, as you know, there's a lot of pressure from organizations like WTO for us to get rid of it, actually. And you are now getting 50%. In fact, it's been increased from 45 to 50%. So with the budget coming along, we are also trying to look at streamlining processes regarding taxation. Streamlining processes without, for example, with the DSS scheme. We want it to become less more bureaucratic, less more cumbersome in terms of getting the various refunds that is already built into place. So I look forward to your organization making submissions on that. As you know, that we've already advertised in the papers. We are looking forward to written submissions. We also hope to have some public consultation that will be held in Suba, Lautoka and Lambasa in the next few weeks. The budget will be delivered on November the 6th of this year, which is a lot earlier than we normally have been having in the past few years. So please think about that, and you need to look at the long-term goals. You enjoy a very good corporate taxation system in Fiji. You have a 20% corporate tax rate, and that, I think, is something that we all need to acknowledge. Personal income tax now does not exceed 20%, unless you're earning more than $275,000 a year, and even that, only on the amount above that, you get about 1.5%. So we have a very good taxation system. And we need to be able to position that vis-a-vis the opportunities we have, and the fact that we need to be able to address the issue of some of the recurring expenditures. I'll tell you, we spend close to $500 million now in education. Now, the fact that we're spending all this money on education means better opportunities for our citizens, but it also means for you, if you're going to be very clinical about it, it provides for you a good trained person at the end of year 13, a better pool and better crop of people to be able to source your potential employees from. We are spending close to $1 billion in roads, water and electricity. Now, this obviously improves the infrastructure of the country, improves the outlook of the country, it improves the living conditions of the people who work for you. So they're a lot more satisfied. So they come to your work a lot happier. People who do not have access to electricity suddenly have access to electricity, who do not have access to drinking water, portable water, through a tap. If they come to work, then with that provision, they're a lot happier, they'll be a lot more productive. In the same way that I said to the tourism industry about 2 years ago, that sometimes we tend to be a bit narrow-minded. Things like the domestic violence decree is very, very critical. Most of your employees are women. If they are being bashed up the night before at home, what do you think the levels of productivity would be the next day? So these types of social issues also have an impact on your industry directly. So my point being is that as manufacturers, you also need to be, we also need to be, all of us need to be concerned about the general social well-being of the country at large. And we also need to be able to make productive comments, critiques, and assessments to be able to ensure that overall, when all of these areas are addressed, we'll all do well. And I think, unfortunately, and I'm taking this opportunity to say this, there is a level of disconnectivity at that public space level in Fiji. We tend to become too segmented. And I urge all of you, as leaders within your own sector, and indeed as leaders within Fiji as a whole. I mean, many of you are institutional names now. Mark Hallaby is an institutional name. Ranjit Garments, all of you, United Apparels, many of you others. The fact is, people do look up to you, and so you need to be able to have that ability to make comments and be concerned about these very social aspects within our society. So, ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to thank you for the invitation this afternoon, but also to reassure you that government is very much focused on ensuring that the manufacturing industry does do well. We also like you to acknowledge the fact that we have provided a number of incentives. There are times that we do want to be able to knock on your doors to say, look, we need to make certain adjustments. That is critical. As you know, minimum wage, there's been submissions made by you in terms of the learners, and that was accepted because we recognize the fact that a sudden jolt could actually, remove you from a favorable position. So we're going to work together with you. But at the same time, there are other issues that we may be able to tap on your shoulder and say, look, we need to do this, and we all need to bite the bullet and actually move forward. Because one of the things we hope to do through this budget is to provide and settle a number of outstanding issues within the taxation system, within the taxation regime, to simplify it, and then we simply don't touch it. Because we want consistency. And I'm sure all of you want consistency. And that's what we hope to do, and I hope to obviously have meetings with their council more directly and have more in-depth discussions about what we can do with the budget going forward. So thank you once again, and I look forward to engaging with most of you. Thanks.